Coaches, what's going on? It's Coach Ian Tatum here, back with another episode of the Tatum Clinic Series. And today I'm here with Dean Davidson. He's the offensive line coach at Obion County Central High School in Troy, Tennessee. Coach has been gracious to come on, and he's not a stranger to the YouTube. He's done clinic for me before, and I've been on his channel as well. So, good friend of mine coming on. We're going to talk about marrying zone and gap schemes. Coach, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So, Coach, I'm gonna let you go ahead and roll. I'm gonna step back and let you introduce yourself, and we'll get it rolling.
Sounds good. So like I said, I'm Dean Davidson. I'm the offensive line coach at Obion County Central High School in Troy, Tennessee. We're going to talk about marrying zone and gap schemes today. We'll talk about some pitfalls, some different ways to do it, whether you want to base out of inside zone or outside zone, and some technique things that we can do as well, specific to the offensive line. Now, the first thing is I think that if you want to marry these two together, you're going to want to do it with a zone base. Could be inside, could be outside, but I think that zone needs to be the base for a couple reasons. Primarily because we kind of get the idea, at least me personally, of creating a 2-for-2 with a combo, carrying that over into gap scheme. But I think that if you're having a gap scheme base, that 2-for-2 idea can kind of get a little bit lost thinking about how we practice and thinking about the amount of time that we're spending into each of them. Now, having a gap scheme base and doing all gap schemes is just fine. Think about like the wing T doing it forever, but you can have, your inside runs, you got your trap, your ISO. If you want to run off tackle, you got power and counter. Outside, you got pin and pull. You can still read with power read with GT bash, and you can actually do some midline stuff with power and counter. So there's plenty of stuff that you can do with a gap only base. Total merit to it. But I think that if we're going to run zone, again, whether it's inside or outside, we want that to be the base. So that's kind of what we're going to start with. But really, it's all about balance. We forever, the definition of balance, right, was 50% run, 50% pass. Then Mike Leach said that was 50% stupid, right? So his idea was we've got 5 eligible players. We want kind of an equal target share between them. That's kind of that air raid mentality. But to me, balance is the ability to attack any area of the field on any given snap. So we'll get into more whenever we kind of talk about the pitfalls here in a minute. But what, sorry, I had to get my iPad up here. But what I mean by that is we can line up, in any formation, and you don't know where the ball is going. So what we're going to see a lot is I see this a ton on film. We got the fullback, we got the sniffer. We're getting one of 2 runs out of this set. The fullback and the halfback are on opposite sides. We're either going to get split zone, right, with the fullback coming back across, or we're going to get power. It's almost always one of those 2 runs. I see it whenever I'm scouting for my offensive line, which I don't know when this is coming out, but I'm going to be talking about that on our this year's clinic for Coach Tatum. So make sure you're signed up for that. Then we also see the fullback and the halfback are on the same side. We're almost always getting counter. So offensive line's blocking down, guard kicking, fullback wrapping. That's going to be almost exclusive. Your other option is jet sweep back the other way with 2 lead blockers. But if you don't have that motion, then you can almost guarantee that it's going to be counter. So that's not very balanced to me because we're lining up like this and you have a very, very good inclination, almost completely right all the time of where this ball is going to go. So that's kind of where we're getting into some common pitfalls back here. Basically, what I see a lot on scout film and some other things is if we only have one back in the backfield, it's zone. Can be inside zone, can be outside zone. The other option there would be GT counter. But if it's then we get that second back in, we get the fullback sniffer, and then you're almost always going to have gap schemes because why else would we bring him in there? We're going to run power, we're going to run counter, and that's it. And that's a really common pitfall that I see. Again, with those formational tendencies, like we just talked about, we're lining up with the fullback and the halfback on the same side. It's going to be counter almost exclusively. Then some other pitfalls we see a lot of always crossing face in the gun. The opposite of that would be same side runs, which we'll get into. And then you think you're going to be in the pistol. You're not going to have any tendencies because we're in the pistol. The running back's behind. We don't have to worry about him crossing face. How often are you running from the pistol? Is it 100% of the time? If I actually was trained at my first spot. I was going to be the assistant defensive coordinator, so that's kind of the way that I learned football, was kind of from that defensive mindset. And if I were a defensive coordinator, that's going to be like the number one thing I'm looking for. If I see that you go in the pistol, do you ever pass out of pistol? If not, why should I not just auto check when I see pistol? Okay, we're just coming out in cover zero, and we can call whatever we want, but we see the pistol, check to cover zero, because we're always running from that. So we're going to talk about some different things that we can do. Again, whether you want to base out of inside or outside zone, how to marry that with gap scheme so we can stay balanced so the defense never knows where the ball is going to go. So looking at an inside zone base first, I think that is when we're going to want to run out of the pistol. So why the pistol? Because our base run, again, is inside zone. It is an inside run and it's downhill. We always want to be able to read off of our base run. We want to be able to do everything possible with our base run. That's why it's our base. So out of the pistol, we can run our inside zone. We've got a good angle for it to get downhill. We have the ability to read off of it. And when we're talking inside zone, by the way, I'm thinking about the crossing face. Okay, right to go left or left to go right is what we've coached it where I'm at. But we're running inside zone left, so he's going to step to right and cross his face that way. We can have our RPOs on the backside. We can run our zone read off the backside defensive end, but we can do everything we need to from the pistol. So how we can marry these together is with inside zone, we're going to cross face. Also with GT counter, we can cross face. So we could run a GT counter here. We're going to draw some of these up. You'll see that I actually like to, I call it stack. My language comes from the Shanahan tree. I've adapted some of that stuff, got a coach tube course on it if you're interested in checking that out. But with GT counter, this is what we would do. And we could read the backside defensive end and have that cross face action. So even if we're crossing face, it can be inside zone or it can be GT counter. If we want to run our other things, our outside zone, power, and counter, that's when we can get into some boot action. So if we want to run outside zone to the right, we can't do that left to go right, right to go left stuff. The aiming point is too far outside, so we have to be able to boot. So we can run outside zone to the right, or we can run power and counter whenever we get to two back stuff, which I've got another little slide for. So we can also read on any side of the formation. So again, the whole point is we can line up like this. You don't know where the ball's going. You don't know where I'm reading. You don't know how I'm reading because we're balanced. If we want to read on the back side of the run, that's what we're going to do, the inside zone and GT counter that we just talked about. We can also read on the play side with power read. So again, I like to stack the play side tackle. I don't like blocking guys head up on us because he's got a two-way go in the hole. We can talk more about that. You can reach out to me sometime. I'd love to talk about it. But we get power read, going to read the play side defensive end. And then the halfback is the one running the power, and the quarterback has the outside read. Generally, we think about power read. We're thinking about inverted, right, with the quarterback running the power. But from the pistol, we can get the some people call it the modern aged veer. I think I've seen a couple times, but we get the quarterback running the outside and the halfback running the power, reading that play side defensive end. So it's important for the QB to be able to open to the play side and the backside because of how defenses are playing the pistol now. And so what they are doing is defenses are, it's almost a post snap read, but how they fit the run is based on which way the quarterback turns. So if we go back to thinking about inside zone, because remember, a lot of defenses over the last 5, 6, 7 years have been designed to stop the inside zone, thinking about tight front, Dave Aranda, all that stuff. So in order to read this backside defensive end, quarterback has to turn this way. So what defenses would do is the will that we've got right here, he's going to see the quarterback turn away and know that he is in the run fit. So he's going to come off the edge. The end would play the B gap. Nose plays the lag technique. And this is how they're fitting it up. We would get a scrape exchange here probably, because what defenses want to do is take the backside apex defender out of the run fit. Why? Because of RPOs. So we put that defender in conflict in the early 2010s, right? And in the late 2010s, they took him out of conflict by taking him out of the run fit. He doesn't have a run responsibility anymore. And that's accounted for because we're changing those gaps on the front side. So, like I said, the quarterback has to be able to turn to the play side and the back side to stop this. So now we've got inside zone drawn up. Let's flip it now to power read. Why power read? Because the read is on the front side of the play. So now we are drawing up power read. So the Sam here is going to see the quarterback open up to him, and he's going to think that he's out of the run fit. Well, guess what? Now he's got a 300-pound tackle coming to block him, and the will is maybe coming off the edge because the quarterback's back is turned to him, but it doesn't matter because we're not running that way. So very important to have a read on the front and the back side, especially from the pistol, because of how those outside linebackers are playing, especially from a 3-4. So again, to stay balanced, we are also going to want to be able to pass out of the pistol. Again, we don't want to always run. Pretty easy key for defensive coordinators there that pay attention that we should just blitz everybody if we see the pistol. So if we're thinking about drop back pass protection, with drop back, the first read is going to be a little bit later on. So what we can do is we can do some token fake play action stuff where the running back can do his crossface action into his gap. So let's say we were going to half slide to the right here. Then the running back would go right to go left and be ready to fit in the B gap right there. So it's drop back pass protection, longer developing concepts. We need to be able to protect the quarterback a little bit better. So I like the half slide. With quick game, the ball is getting out fast. So what we can do from here is we can just run full slide just to make sure we have C to C protected. What I don't like doing out of the pistol and why I think a lot of teams don't pass out of the pistol is if we're going to run the half slide, but the halfback has to step out and then fill into his gap. I think it's really clunky. I was actually, it was last night, the Rams heartbreaker in the wild card. I know everybody was feeling good about the Lions winning the first time in 30 years, but as a Rams fan, I didn't enjoy it. So anyway, they were running a drop back pass out of the pistol. And just because of the way the quarterback's footwork works with the running back being 2 to 3 yards behind him, he can't just catch the ball and drop straight back like you can when the running back is offset because there's a guy there, there's the running back there. And because of that clunky footwork, he tripped on his own feet and they got the sack on like 2nd and 10 because Stafford just tripped over himself. So personally, I don't like just straight drop back pass protection out of the pistol, which again is why I think a lot of teams don't do it. But if you want to run your drop back concepts, we can just do our crossface action, a little token fake, because again, the passes are going to be longer developing. And then with the quick game, we can just run full slide. The running back shouldn't, because his aiming point is going to be wider, his gap's going to be wider, responsibility wider. We don't really have to worry about him and the quarterback being that close together. So that would be a single back base out of the pistol. We'll get to two back here in a second, but the idea with the pistol is we want to avoid tendencies. So we're at our formation again up here. So we can run right or left. We'll have some field and boundary tendencies for sure, and maybe some spots on the field. But as far as formational tendencies go, we are really trying to avoid that with the pistol. I'm a huge if-then person. We got to have a a reaction for every action that the defense is going to do. And this goes for our base run. So our base run is inside zone. So if the defense is attacking away from the quarterback opening, like we had talked about, then we want to run our gap schemes the other way. Could be GT counter. Really, power read is probably going to be the focus there. If the defense is penetrating on both sides, so it doesn't matter which way the quarterback's opening, that's when we want to run our outside zone. They're penetrating, getting upfield. If we can hook them and get the edge, there's not going to be anybody left because they've all penetrated. So that's how that's going to marry up as far as having a package of inside zone, outside zone, and gap schemes from the pistol with inside zone as the base. Now let's look at some two-back stuff. And all these calls on the right are my language. I mentioned my Coach Tube course, not advertising it really, but if you want to know more specifically about the language, it's out there. So 24 would be inside zone to the left. We are going to, or to the right, we're going to bring the fullback across. I've actually got the wrong idea there. So we want the fullback to come across, and we're going to run inside zone from there. And if we had a single receiver out here, that would be the X, and we could run a glance with him. We'll talk more about the glance here in a minute. Got the glance is my favorite RPO, especially for keeping safeties out of the box. With 35, that's going to be some read option for me. So 35 F man is going to put the fullback on the backside linebacker. So 35, we are running to the left. This is how we would block it up. And Mingo is going to tell the backside tackle that we're kind of running a midline deal. So now we can read the backside defensive end. So this is just going to be our base ways of running inside zone out of the pistol from two back. And then now we can get into some other variations of our run game, some other iterations as far as the different schemes that we're using. This is just one formation. We're going to talk about kind of some different things we can do out of it. So 37 counter, for me, that's going to be GT counter. Going to run GT counter to the left. Again, I don't like blocking head up fours. So this is how I would want to block it up. And with this, we're going to put the F in the flat. So this is going to be a triple option read. So remember, with GT, we can cross face. We'll read the backside defensive end for the give or pull for the quarterback, and then the SAM for the pitch to the fullback. The receivers will just block man on right there. We've got our triple option on the backside. Everybody is accounted for on the backside. We would take the X and try and scoop out the safety there. To run counter the other way, we can still just use the fullback. Going to look something like this. Fullback's going to come sift across for the defensive end, and we're going to run it to the right. We won't have a read right here. We'll just try and block 2 for 1 on the outside back there, and we can run our counter that way. So again, the idea being that we can run anything, any direction. We're lined up like this. You don't know what's coming. We can run gap schemes to the left, gap schemes to the right. You've got no clue. 18 is going to be outside zone. Force cat is just going to be a variation where on the outside, the fullback is going to the corner. We would have our outside zone from here. The will is going to be held by the boot of the quarterback. So again, now we've talked about inside zone and GT counter. There's a way we can run outside zone to the twins. Then if we want to run outside zone to the single receiver side, we can run that same variation that we ran from inside zone, just with outside zone as far as putting the fullback on the backside linebacker and running it to the single receiver. So now we can add our power and counter that we can do similar things. That's our inside zone and GT counter and outside zone we kind of talked about out of single back. But with two back now, we can run our full power and full counter concepts as well. So 16 F power would be power to the right. Again, we're going to stack on the SAM back there. And then on the backside, just going to have the tackle again, kind of 2-for-1, taking out the defensive end there. Then we have RPOs where we can run with the number 2 receiver on the ball. I like the smoke screen, and we could read a safety because we get the same accounted for. And so everybody on the front side there is accounted for. Again, we're going to want to run these same side. 17 F Charlie. That's going to be that's what I call counter out of 2 back. So counter for me is GT counter. Charlie is going to be GY or GF counter. 17 F Charlie would be Charlie to the left. Guard's going to kick. Fullback is going to wrap. Going to run counter to the left. And there's our glance reading the free safety. And I think I talked about it at last year's clinic. Coach Tatum, just my offensive philosophy as far as this goes is I want to find from too high, want to see who is the extra fitter in the box. So we have 6 players in the box, and they have 6 players in the box right here. Who is that 7th person going to be? That's going to be the free safety if we're just looking at a base cover 4, cover 2 concept. Where they're running some triangle coverage over here and then trying to stay 2 over 1 to the single receiver. That free safety has to decide, am I going to be the person that can't be blocked? And then where's our one-on-one? It's outside with the corner. So we can either be hat for hat in the box. We can be hat for hat on the glance. The free safety is going to decide which one we are, and the quarterback has to make the right decision from there, whether to pull and throw or hand the ball. Last one we'll look at from 2 back is going to be power read. So we can read the defensive end. We'll get the tackle out. We're actually going to get an extra blocker really here with the fullback because we don't have anybody else to block. So this should be a really good play out of this formation. We have the defense overloading to the left a little bit. We can read that player on the right. So this really demonstrates the versatility of the pistol. We're going to talk about some drawbacks of the pistol here in a minute whenever we get into more outside zone stuff. But this is, I haven't counted them up, but about 10 different run plays we can run from one formation. And the defense does not know where they're being attacked. And we didn't even get into passing game, whether it's drop back, quick game, play action. The defense should not be able to key where we're going based on where we line up. And that, to me, is that marriage of zone and gap schemes. So that's what I would do with an inside zone base. If you know me at all, my base is outside zone, which we are going to get into. And from outside zone, we're going to want to be under center and in the offset gun. This is my offense specifically that we're about to get into, because the advantages of the pistol are really mitigated between in regards to outside zone compared to inside zone. So the advantage of the pistol, right, is we get that threat of a read to either side. But the issue with that is with outside zone being our base run, it's too wide to read anything from the pistol. The quarterback has to turn his back because the aiming point for the running back is so much wider than inside zone. So we have to boot. There's no choice if we want to be able to hold that backside defender. We can't read him like we can with that cross-face action from inside zone. And personally, I want everything to look like our base as much as possible. So think about being in the pistol. That means that we can't do that cross-face read for our inside zone because that's not what our outside zone looks like. So that means we still have to boot for inside zone. And so that really takes away the point of being in the pistol compared to being under center. So looking at our outside base from under center, some advantages of being under center, the runs hit better from being under center. There's not much ifs, ands, or buts about that. Runs just work better when they're under center. The quarterback gets to turn his back, gets to show the defense the ball. The ball fakes, better ball fakes for play action and for jet sweep. There's so much merit to the linebackers, the safeties not being able to see the ball. So think about in the gun or even in the pistol, you're running jet sweep and he's coming in front of the quarterback. The whole time the defense can see the ball. And I think that's why things like the wing T are so popular, are so hard to defend really these days, and a true I formation team, you get that jet sweep, and now the quarterback's turning his back. The defense can't see the ball. So just even that quick little split second can be enough to get a defender confused and get him to stop his feet. And now we're going to be able to reach him with the offensive line. Under center also gives you time and space for the running back to get to his spot in pass pro without the fake. So whereas with the pistol, he's 2-3 yards behind the quarterback, which we talked about. He's going to be 7-8 yards behind the quarterback from under center. So our half slide stuff is going to work a lot better because he's got the time and the space to get to a spot without having to interrupt the quarterback. We're also going to get a secure snap. Now, if you're a spread team, then under center might not be a secure snap. But if it's something that you know that's going to be part of your base and you're practicing often, then it's going to be as secure of a snap as it gets because it's a literal handoff. Personally, I think that every team should have some under center package. We actually, not this past season, but 2 years ago, almost lost a region game because we couldn't get the ball to our quarterback. We're a spread team, and we didn't have anything under center except quarterback sneak. And I went through. I had two centers, and every time we had a bad snap after about the second quarter, it was just all right. You're in, and the one who was going to play, he would play until there was a bad snap, and then I'd have to rotate him out. We had probably almost 10 almost bad snaps that were almost turnovers, and that was a region game. We would have not gone to the playoffs had we lost that game, and we won the fourth playoff game in school history last year, and that was almost never happened because we couldn't get the ball to our quarterback. It wasn't raining. It was a beautiful game, beautiful night, and we just couldn't snap the ball. So it's really important on a night like that, or in a bad weather game, that we can get the ball to our quarterback. If nothing else, we've got a package of plays under center that we can run. I think it's hugely important being able to get that secure snap. But then ultimately, we're not reaping the primary benefits of being in the pistol. Again, it's that the threat of a read on either side. If outside zone is our base, we're not getting that. We're not reading. So why should we be in the pistol? If we're not reaping those benefits, we're not getting a secure snap, we're not getting the better ball fakes either, there's no point to me. But we want to be, we don't want to always be in the gun. We want to have some kind of change up. Whereas I think if you're inside zone base, you can live in the pistol exclusively, except for that under center package, if that's something you want to have, just to make sure you get a secure snap. But as far as an outside zone base, we want to be able to be under center, but we also want to be in the gun. And that's going to be where we're spending most of the rest of our time so that we can talk about the reads and everything. So why do we want to be in the gun with an outside zone base? Because it's going to allow reads for our base run. Again, it's our base run. We want to be able to do everything off of it, RPO, read option, or not, in which case we'd be under center. But the offset gun allows you to read the full field post snap. So out of the pistol, the running backs back here, you can only read half the field because the quarterback has to turn one way. Out of the gun, the running back's crossing his face. We can look anywhere on the field. We can read any defender. I say we can read any defender. He can look at any defender. I don't think you can truly read any defender on any play. Again, I'd love to talk about that some other time if anybody wants to reach out. But we have a full field read ability post snap. So if we want to read the defensive end to the halfback, that would be this guy right here. We've got a couple different options. We can run our zone read, where we're running left to right. Again, this can be inside zone or outside zone, just talking about regular zone read. Or we can run power read from the same side. So one of the pitfalls that we talked about at the beginning was always crossing face in the gun. Same side runs are going to be key to truly marrying the zone and the gap scheme run game. So running same side power read, we can still read the defensive end to the side of the back because it's a same side play. If we want to read a defensive tackle, that's on the halfback side. So I know I've got a 3-4 drawn up, but let's just say we've got a backside. Let's say we got a backside 3. It's a little bit easier. Then we can run our Mingo which is going to be our midline read and read the backside defensive tackle, the first man backside of the center. If we want to read the defensive line opposite the halfback, then that's when we can run our bash. So it can primary bash play is going to be GT counter. That's everybody's favorite. But we can also run it with regular power. You can run it with regular counter, but we're going to be able to read the defensive lineman on the opposite side of the back. So generally, how we're thinking about marrying this up is a defense is going to line up, right? They're going to see where we talked about with the pistol, it's post snap. They see which way the quarterback turns, and then now the will is in the fit. Well, the defense is going to line up right here. And for most defenses that are well coached, they're going to see the running back on this side. They know automatically the same is out of the fit and the will is in, because of what we did in the early 2010s, what offenses did, and the RPOs and things that we've already talked about. So we can line up with this kind of system with the outside zone base if we're truly married zone and gap, and they still don't know which way we're reading. Again, we can read any defensive lineman, and with outside linebackers, we can RPO them. How we can RPO the outside linebacker over here, bubble. So the will wants to be in the fit. Like we talked about, let's just say we're running outside zone to the left. If he fits in, right now they have 6 guys and we have 5. So he's the 6th guy. Where are we one-on-one? On the perimeter. We got to make the catch, and you've got 10 yards to make the safety miss. So we can read outside linebackers with RPOs. We can read them with RSOs, the run screen option, the extended triple option. That's not very new. Then the glance is how we can read safeties. I only really like reading a safety to a single receiver side, because that's the only time that he is truly in the fit. If we're thinking about a cover 4 or a match quarters type of defense, he's not really in the fit. So if I were to run a glance right here with the F, then the free safety is not in the fit, because the will, how they would be fitting this up, the free safety doesn't have a gap. So the F would just take off, the free safety would cover him, and then we're still running into a loaded box. So really important for your RPOs to know who is in the run fit, so that we can truly read conflicted defenders. If we're reading defenders that aren't in the run fit, then we're still going to run into loaded boxes. So that would kind of be a minor run system there, as far as a single back outside zone base. And single back, we could have a tight end on the ball on either side. There's plenty of different things we can do with it, but we've got the ability to read anywhere on the field, specifically on the defensive line, but we can read the first level, second level, or third level, even from the offset gun. If we've truly married our zone to our gap, it doesn't matter what side the running back is on, the defense still can't line up and know for 100% certainty who is being read as far as what side the running back is on. So we talked about the pistol, and the pistol is a tendency avoider. We're trying to not have any tendencies. From the gun, we are not going to get that. It doesn't help you avoid tendencies, to me, but it gives you the opportunity to break them. And that's my personality as an offensive line coach, as a play caller. I want to create tendencies and then break them. If I don't have any tendencies, then you can't overplay me. And if you don't overplay me, then I don't have anywhere specifically to attack. Yes, there's always room. We have 11 guys, they have 11. But if you overplay me somewhere, now you are underplaying me somewhere else. And that's where I have the ability to break that tendency and really hurt you there. So getting into our if-thens for an outside zone base, if the defense is overflowing, then we are going to run inside zone. So we've got the flow is what stops outside zone partially. There's a couple of different things that stop it, but overflowing is one of them. So if the defense they're seeing the action, they're fast flowing to stop the outside zone, then we're going to run inside zone, because it's going to cut back behind all of that overflow. If the defense is overloading, meaning that they are placing defenders there pre-snap on the other side. So we've got the offset gun, right? Maybe they're bringing that extra safety down on the other side, opposite the running back. Then we're going to run our same side gap schemes back the other way. So not only are you overloading to the wrong side, we're actually going to bring an extra body, two extra bodies potentially to the other side where you are underloaded because you have shifted that much. So that's going to be our basic if then for an outside zone. Let's look at some different two gap runs or some two back runs. Like I said, I've got a lot more here for two back for outside zone because this is my world. I'm an outside zone guy first. So we've got a two back from the offset gun, split backs. We got the fullback on the left to the single receiver, halfback with the twins on the backside. So starting with outside zone because that's our base. Looking at 29 F sift, we would have this look up front, and then we have our X glance, reading the free safety. We've already talked about kind of why for all that. Then we look at 29 F lead, which is still going to be outside zone to the left. Just now, instead of coming back across, the fullback is going to insert. And this is one of my favorite ways to run outside zone because we're going to get a really clean block there, clean ISO on the jack. Then we can run 25. So that would be inside zone to the left, F man like we did earlier. Again, all these have been zoned to the left with the X glance. So we can just make that free safety decide, is he going to be the guy that we can't block, or is he going to give up the glance there to the corner? So that would be some inside and outside zone. Let's look at some counter. So 27 would be counter to the left. And then we can crisscross action. We can bring the fullback back across to handle the backside defensive end, and then the running back coming back underneath. And because we get everybody up front blocked, we can still get that glance. But all those have been runs to the left. That's going to be just I know that's going to be a tendency for me is running to the single receiver side because of that glance. It's one of my favorite plays in football is that single receiver glance. But we can run to the other side too. Looking at 26 counter, we're going to get taking the nose back, and then we're just going to keep the fullback back here, picking up the first guy. We're going to run same side GT counter. From there, we can run some triple option counter. So again, running kind of getting back to the left again a little bit, but reading the backside defensive end for the give or pull for the running back. But we're also going to get the F, the fullback, on a slide route. So he's going to go and bluff, sift the defensive end, and slip right on past him into the flat. We'll read the Sam there, and then blocking 2 for 2 on the perimeter. So again, we haven't even gotten into power and counter stuff yet, but the defense has no clue where they're going to be attacked. All right, looking at some, let's take that off of there. Same side GF counter. So Charlie for me. We can stack there. And the backside tackle going 2 for 1. And again, we can read the safety here because we're going to get the Sam blocked with a smoke screen for the Z. And it's just going to be same side counter up front. So the quarterback can turn, get eyes on that safety. If he comes downhill, then we have an easy run. He's not technically in the run fit, but we don't really have anybody else to read. So we can still try and mess with him that way a little bit. But we get everybody up front, blocked up right here. Something else you could do if you are if you're worried about the wheel back side, instead of stacking up front, you can put the tackle backside on the wheel. You're going to have to send the center all the way back to the 4, which could potentially be problematic, but we can do that and then read the Sam when we're still 2 for 2 out here if we get the throw, 6 for 6 in the box, and the Sam being the 7th guy, the one that we can't block, whether it's to the perimeter or whether it's on in the run fit. All right, so that's Charlie. That's going to be GF counter. We can look at some power read. So same 36 pop for me is pop is going to be power read, and extra is going to be maybe the best goal line play in football, but also has some perimeter, some midfield, open field applications to it, and that is going to be the power read shovel triple option. So this is a scenario when we would probably want to go all the way back on the 4 and wrap here so we can read the defensive end. Quarterback would run outside shoulder of the defensive end right here. And if the defensive end comes to take him, he's going to make that pitch or that shovel to the fullback. If the end squeezes the down block, then now we are on the perimeter running speed option basically against the Sam. Sam can't cover the quarterback and the halfback. So we've read defenders to the play side. We've read defenders on the back side. We have read to the single receiver side, to the twin side out of two back. We're not done yet. We can run power to the left, just regular power, not power read. And then because we can get everybody up front blocked, we've got our glance back. Running some power read to the single side. This would be pop easy. Easy being we get the extra blocker here. I'd probably want to put the fullback on the corner that way, but you can put the fullback on the safety if you'd rather do that. But we can still run. This would be inverted power read with the quarterback running because we are offset. So same side power read would have the quarterback would have the running back running the power and the quarterback being the outside guy. From opposite side, then obviously it's going to have to be inverted. A couple more we'll take a look at. Something that I actually found this season writing for my newsletter was same side inside zone. I had traditionally never been a fan of it because you can't read the backside defender. And then the Packers did it about middle of the season where they ran same side inside zone, not necessarily this front, but they had a fullback or tight end or somebody just come and sift across on the backside. And it was so simple, and I loved it. I actually wrote about it that week. And we can run our smoke screen on the front side of this too, reading the Sam here. All right, last one we'll take a look at is some read option for inside zone. So this would be 35 Wanda F Grizz. And what the Grizz is it is the it's going to be load, basically load option. So instead of running the flat, the fullback can go and block. He's going to bluff block the end like he did on running the slide, but now he's going to turn upfield and block the most dangerous man after that. So it's just a regular zone read from there, and quarterback can get himself a lead blocker. So just like we talked about with inside zone and the pistol, this is just one formation too. But the defense, we're gonna show all this. We can not going to do all of it in one game necessarily, maybe not all in one season, but a defensive coordinator or a head coach that calls the defense, we are not going to be giving away our plays by how we line up. And that to me is true marriage between zone and gap schemes as far as the scheme goes. But I do want to talk also about some offensive line technique. And this is where I think a lot of coaches get scared, specifically to add gap schemes to it. Something that you can only do one because of the time it takes. But if we take away the amount of technique that offensive linemen have to know, then it becomes a lot more feasible. So the way that I coach solo blocks with my offensive line on the interior is a base block. Okay, so we're running inside zone to the left right here. We've got the halfback. We're going to get two base blocks from the left tackle and the left guard right here. But the center, he's also going to have base blocks if we were running it to the right. Let's say we're running that same side, that'd actually be combo in there. But there are points where the center is going to have a base block as well. But now let's say that instead of running inside zone to the left, we're going to run power. Let's just say we're not going to deuce block there just for argument's sake. Because we are solo, okay, looking at the left tackle and center here specifically, I'm going to teach this for the left tackle the exact same way. The inside zone block to the left is going to be the exact same footwork, exact same hand placement as this solo block to the right. Now, obviously, it's going to be left and right, but I'm going to tell him that we are getting the for the will blocking the will on the inside zone here. He's going to be trying to get his left hand at the midline and take his right hand and torque him out. And I'm going to tell him the same thing for blocking this 3 technique, blocking him down. I'm going to tell him I want to get his right hand on the midline and his left hand torquing him out because now we're running around that way. So it's the exact same footwork. Directions are going to be different, but it's the exact same footwork and hand placement, just on the opposite side. Same for the center. We're telling him, I want you to step right. Your hand placement's down the midline, and we're torquing him out from there. As far as if this were power to the left, all right, it would be the exact same if he had a solo block going to the right on a zone play. Now with combos and deuce blocks, for me the difference combo is going to be zone, and deuce blocks are going to be gap. But the idea is that we have 2 for 2. So with a combo, that's where I start, is with zone. We get that idea of there are 2 of us and there are 2 of them. All right, how we get there is going to be determined on where the linebacker feels and different things like that, and that carries over to a deuce block. Whenever I'm going to tell the left guard here, he's going to cover up the tackle, and then the right tackle is going to chip him, and they're working back to the mic on a power play or counter, whatever gap scheme we're talking about. We still have that idea here of there are 2 of us and 2 of them. And then lastly, talking about hinges. So if we were running power to the left, traditionally, the right tackle here would have a hinge. I don't coach hinge blocks. And maybe that's just me being his own guy. Coach Tatum probably, I can't see him. He probably just vomited. I don't coach hinge blocks. I'm going to tell this right tackle he has a solo block. So that right tackle, he's going to use the exact same technique on that 5 technique on power to the left as he is on inside zone to the right. I don't need him to try and scoop out the B gap. That's the hinge, right? He's going to give a left hand to the B gap and then come back around for the defensive end. I don't coach that. That's one less thing that I have to teach, one less thing we have to practice. He has a base block on the backside defensive end. So we've talked about marrying the scheme. These are a few things that I've done where we marry the technique. We've been very successful in the run game. I should have pulled up some stats just to have that for y'all. But marrying the scheme plus marrying the technique, having a zone scheme and a gap scheme marriage there is going to be a great way to have big chunks in the run game. Like I said, I think it starts with having a zone base. We talked about maybe you want to base out of inside zone. I gave you some of my thoughts on that. And if you want to base out of outside zone, that's going to be the foundation of my offense, which if you want to know more about, then you can reach out to me. That's what I've got. You got any questions or anything you want to cover, Coach Tatum?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, real quick. So since you don't teach a traditional hinge, getting the B gap and wheeling back, so is your change up to that? If you get blitz run through to the B gap, are you RPOing that guy, or are you running zone to pick up the B gap?
So I don't want to. I don't like RPOing the backside linebacker because, like we talked about, the free safety trying to put him being the run fit. That backside linebacker, he doesn't have a pass responsibility. So what he's the run pass option, right? He's in conflict, but if he doesn't have a pass responsibility, then he doesn't care. So he's going to blitz to the big gap anyway. So what I do is I'll abandon the combos or the deuce blocks is going to be the straight thing. We're just going to go straight back knowing he's going to come, and the guard's got to get all the way down on the defensive lineman. But he's really just making our job easier kind of at that point. We have trouble Uing them out if they scrape over. If they want to run through the backside, then they take themselves out of the play. against us.
I got you. Yeah, especially since you're an outside zone guy. You're if he's going to be blitzing backside gap,
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
outrun that dude.
Yeah. And if he's going to do that and it's trouble, then we just aren't going to pull the guard. We're going to run zone the other way. And he's the backside linebacker filling backside. I don't care about him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't throw up, but I was like, But yeah, I've been in those situations where like, especially that backside guy, he doesn't run through just as a traditional gap scheme guy. Yeah, I told my tackle like you're stepping down for no reason. Like make sure the
Mhm.
D end is blocked. So definitely understand that.
And it's one less technique to know, one less technique to practice, one less thing to screw up.
I feel you. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on, and that was great. I have notes on what you were talking about with Mary and the gap in the zone, and I'm a big pistol guy. The first offense I coached in, my mentor was the OC. He was a 100% pistol. Like we were never out, we passed and ran out of pistol. So, I, in my heart of hearts, I love pistol. We got in pistol. Really, one of our backs was a pistol back because we would drill it, and he would just get too wide on A gap
Mhm.
runs, and so we just like, okay, well, we're not an under center team, but we want to get that downhill run, so we put him in pistol, and it totally changed our run game with that kid. Um, so then we started putting the other kids in a pistol as well, and we would also obviously go sidecar. And we would also jump the back, start him in pistol, jump him to one side, and then run the play. So
Mhm.
that was good for us. But yeah, I love pistol.
Yeah, like I think it's got its merits. Personally, it's I don't think it going through my outside zone stuff. It's probably not the best for what I specifically want to do.
Yeah,
But like I said, that's kind of why I threw all that inside zone stuff in there because it certainly has its merits. And under my last head coach, we were pretty similar. Inside zone base out of pistol was kind of where everything started. So definitely merits, just not for me personally as far as my favorite things to do. But uh, definitely a good time and place for it for sure.
I feel you. Well, hey, everybody's watching. Hey, definitely go and follow Coach on his Twitter, and then go and find him. Find his. I'm gonna link his YouTube down below and tag him. Make sure you go and subscribe to his YouTube. Coach and I, it's not official, but we have a little bit of a sub race going on right now. Coach has caught me, so he just went
Mhm.
over 800, and I'm almost to 900 now. So hey, let's go and show him love. Go subscribe to my man's channel. He's doing
Race
great
to a
things.
thousand for us.
Yeah, ratio 1,000, but he's doing great thing, great quality. And if you want to learn anything about McVay, Shanahan type offenses, go and hit him up because he has all those things and
Mhm.
more. And I appreciate Coach coming on and spending time with us tonight.
Yes, sir. At Coach_D Davidson. You'll find me on YouTube and Twitter. I lucked out. It gets to be the same one on both. But yeah, hit me up. I love talking ball. Send me some DMs. They're open. So always ready.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.